right, man. Another video. I'm gonna make up the videos I missed this week, man. We get more traction. I start like pushing videos for the I started doing videos on the weekends or whatever. But make sure y'all share the channel. The more subs I get, traction I get, I create social media and I start putting more into the channel, right? But I want to talk about this and Eddie Murphy Raw stand up. It was the follow up to Delusion or Delusional. What was it? I forget. Delirious. Excuse me. It's Delirious. Great stand ups, both of them. But Raw is the actual first red pill content. To be honest, that's on the commercial level that I can remember. And you hear Richard Pryor talk about police brutality and Red Fox having different jokes and all that stuff. But everything that Eddie Murphy was talking about in Raw in the 80s is exactly what's going on now. Now, a lot of people, put Kevin Samuels on a pedestal, rightfully so. A lot of the manosphere community is loving to put Patrice O'Neal on a pedestal, rightfully so. Rest in power to both of those brothers, because they spoke on stuff they spoke on all of this, and it continues to happen. And, Eddie Murphy was talking about all this in the 80s. Johnny Carson losing all his money to his ex-wife. He talked about passport bros going over to Africa, getting a woman, bringing her back to America, and her getting Americanized. And Eddie, I want half Eddie. He talked about the ultimate weapon why a woman stick by a man, regardless if she see him cheating in their bed. If you put it down the right way, they gonna stick by your side. A lot of times they more willing to stick by your side. And I seen an interesting stat. It says 80% of women say they don't climax, but a lot of that is just genetic disorder. It's not about penile length, because there's a lot of women that prefer average to smaller things because they don't want to be hurting. The shit hurt, apparently. And you hear some women, you hear them, and they talk about, wow, my husband did this, my boyfriend had this, but he couldn't make me this, or he couldn't last long. So at the end of the day, man, different strokes for different folks. But he talked about that. It's hard. Women, stick by dudes and go through stuff because it's hard for them to find a satisfactory or a great sexual partner. And when you putting it down like you supposed to put it down, you pretty much control a woman. She's submissive as you want them to be. And when she start getting out of submission, out of line submission wise, you give it to her. And even with guys, sometimes you get an attitude and she give you some, she whatever, you feel a lot better. Everybody know that. Everything go back to normal. Same thing with women. When she got an attitude, this, that, and the third, she want to be popped off. He talked to everything that these dudes are complaining about or starting to go do, or they think it's the perfect thing. He talked about women going over to Jamaica and you letting your girl go to Jamaica so you can run around, cheat, or find peace and do what you want to do, and she over in Jamaica getting popped off. He talked about that. So the playbook ain't new. Patrice O'Neal, early 2000s. Eddie Murphy, 80s. He talked about how women say you don't own me until you put a ring on it. And I tell you guys, that shit don't matter. Once you put a ring on it, she ain't gonna just magically become submissive. Not permanently. She gonna move the bar again. Well, you need to go buy us a bigger house, or you need to buy me some better dishes, or you need to fix the water here. It ain't gonna never be enough. It ain't gonna never be enough. He talked about guys like, we call them the laptop revolutionaries now. People like Bill Cosby having an issue with his raw content. Today you got that issue where on YouTube you got to say, well, not made for kids, and what about the children? You hear certain people make comments, and you got to respect the children. But the children bad as hell today, regardless of how much censorship you putting out there. They bad as hell. They say you got a lot of young girls that's on dating apps now that's lying about their age. And guess what? The adult get caught up. You know, he in the adult space thinking it's an adult. They get caught up. They get in trouble. No responsibility for the child. And they go men and women. For young underage boys and girls. All this censorship and all these new apps and stuff and all this. Come on. Come on. You talked about Janet Jackson. What have you done for me lately? That is never good enough. You always got to keep setting the bar. He talked about how women make men wait for it. Wait 90 days or wait 4 or 5 months and then you get it. You like, oh, it's the best thing I ever had. Yeah, because you ain't had sex in 4 to 6 months. 3 to 6 months. But if a woman do make you wait for it, I mean, a nigga who get pussy or a nigga that, you know, that ain't pussy driven, you ain't really tripping about it. Because if I'm just trying to smash you, even in the 80s without internet and whatever, I can just go to, if it's just about the sex, I can just go to the next girl and run game and get it. So it just ain't about the sex. If you went to a girl, you dating her for a long time, you actually like her. You actually, oh, shorty cool as hell. So he touched on a bunch of more things. Everything that's going on today, Eddie was in the 80s, so it ain't no different. It's more visibility. Women got options, men got options. Women needed men then, men still need women now. But necessarily having a bunch of options is not always not the greatest thing to always have. It's not. It's not always the best option to have. Don't forget that having a bunch of options ain't always the best option. You know? It's not. So, don't forget that. You just need the right option. Everybody always want to step back in the streets and see what's out there and just do something and just have something different and shit get stale. Yep, I feel you. Then a lot of these men and women get back out there and then wish and forget and didn't value what they had at home. That's why I tell y'all, you know, if you got loyalty, you got trust, you got faith, y'all need time apart. That's her taking a little individual vacation, you taking an individual vacation, her getting a room from away from the kids for a weekend, you getting a room, you know. But if you ain't got loyalty, trust, and faith, ain't no woman saying that, no man saying that. Oh, you probably have a nigga at the room or whatever. Guaranteed. But Eddie Murphy's Raw is the original Red Pill Bible. That's all I got. Subscribe to the channel. Thumbs up the video. Appreciate the love, support. Share it. Peace.